the series. They go for the Ashe, and they do end up going for that Braum. So really strong level 1 combo with his bot lane. Good matchup into the Ezreal Leona, but also like a bit more engaged in the Ashe. But you have so many auto attackers to sync with that Braum as well.
Yep, definitely feels like a very good answer for the side of NONGSHIM. They've definitely rounded out their composition at this point as the set is going to be locked in for game number 1.
And still, we don't know.
I think it's going mid.
Yeah, I think it probably is mid.
Yeah, keep in mind that NONGSHIM banned out a decent amount of poke as well. It looks like we are just about ready to hop onto the rift here for game number 1. Let's do it.
This is really important to note. They're a new duo, right? Building synergy is important. And how do you start that?
Same skin.
Skinergy, right? They both have the Battle Academia skins, Duo and Ruler, on the Ezreal and Leona.
So they saw this invade. There was a ward that spotted it, so NONGSHIM able to invade themselves. And so just going to get some deep wardage in. Kengan likewise up on the top side. That does get spotted by Gen.G. And everybody's favorite meta, the lane swap meta. We are currently living in it, but will we see the lanes swapped in this game as the Ashe Braum is heading bot?
Okay, looks like they're not going to punish. It seemed like maybe they were going to try and catch Jiwoo between the towers. Not going to happen. Right now, with where the minion waves are, we're locked into standard lanes. It's a little bit too late to switch it up now. You see the Gideon going for a little bit invade on the top side as he knows his bot side jungle is being threatened.
I mean, Galio's pretty good at taking down the little chickens, right? Looking for a bunch of them. He's going to deny a lot of XP. He will have to probably flash here as he's just waiting until the very last moments to do so. Just gonna back, and then he's going to flash over, so kind of delaying the inevitable was keen.
Yeah, this does give an advantage over the Canyon. In twofold. Firstly, that Gideon missed out some XP, isn't level 2 yet, but also Gideon now moves away from Canyon's topside jungle, whereas Canyon is just feasting so far. So in terms of the win cons for Gen.G, getting an advantage on your Nidalee, that box has already been ticked.
Yeah, they're feeling pretty good about that. And this top lane, I feel like Keen should be able to lock it down, even without his flash. I mean, Galio, though, you have to play it very careful now, so that does mean that Kengan can kind of just do whatever he wants and push the lane if you'd like to. I say that as I'm looking at the minimap. Keen is just justice punching into him and does not care. Obviously, at this timing, Vi's not going to be up there, but you never know. Especially if she went into red and then immediately went top for kind of a crazy gank. But not going to happen as Keen continues to push in.
Yeah, I think, you know, the amount of wave kill that Galio has, and also just the fact you have that shield and you have the combo on the Rumble, really should be looking for those frequent trades. Lehen's just hovering mid to help Fisher get a crash. And again, I think there's going to be a lot of the play for NONGSHIM is that your lanes are just going to be vulnerable whenever they're overextended. Although actually, this seems like a bit of a translation of pressure. So we talked about how Canyon was getting that advantage. Lehen secures the push in. That secures Prio for Fisher. That allows Gideon to invade and challenge on this red. And maybe some of that advantage we saw earlier is going to be mitigated a bit. So it's just little moves like that, I feel like, really hallmarks of Lehen's being on this roster.
Yeah. Level 2 Braum. Don't let him tell you engage roam Braum at level 2 is fake.
Yeah, it has led to...
Lehen's is on the rift.
It has led to Jiwoo falling behind a little bit. And what's really important here is that whenever you make a move like that, you go and you get pressure elsewhere, but then you have to come back and like assist Jiwoo, which gives pressure in the other side. So now Juro's roamed up, Canyon's here, and Fisher's doing the correct move, which is playing very safe because he knows he is definitely under potential threat if he overextends.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the set, is that you've got a lot of threat to the Oner. Generally, the Oner can just kind of slip and slide around the lane, do whatever he wants, you know, dash into you, chase you down, especially if you're playing a caster and you don't really have a lot of fight back ability, but Set is very good at brawling. And it feels like a great pick into the Oner specifically, as we do have a bit of a late lane swap here. We do see that the Gen.G bottom lane is heading to the top lane, and Keen is already in the bottom lane. And we're going to see a response here from NONGSHIM as the TP comes out from King into match.
Well, you know, Gideon needs to be there early, right, for the grubs. Obviously, wants the backup.
Yeah.
Got to focus on the big objective. And actually kind of denied there by Duro by blocking the volley. So already we're seeing a little bit of a lead over the ruler, partially from that roam, but also just moments like that. I think he looked to block a cannon earlier as well. I'm not sure if he was successful, but definitely was on that one. And over the course of the game, that does add up.
Yeah, it absolutely does. In this game, there is potential for him to just kind of, even if he gets behind, you know, throw out an arrow and set up his team as long as the rest of the map is doing okay. But you don't want to just have, you know, arrow bot Ashe. You want them to actually have items and to actually be able to scale up a bit, especially in those later game team fights, and be more than just an arrow. As Gideon is here, this is a set. Can they do anything to it, as Chovy's level 6 and Fisher even going to miss the Q for good measure, so Chovy really doesn't care about that setup.
If that had been old TP, I mean, he wouldn't have been able to TP right there in the middle of the lane, but also he would have been there a lot faster. You could see how awkward it was. They were kind of waiting for him to turn up, and I'm like,
hello?
Is he coming? Did he get lost in transit?
Yeah. Did he get lost on his hike on the way here? Canyon is going to take down the Grubs, by the way, so... Grubs, rather. Grubbian here is going to go for the Dragon instead.
Yep. Obviously, I think nice for Gen.G, given that they really want to snowball this game. Getting those Grubs early can be pretty advantageous. But they did get nerfed. Current patch on, which is 15.3 or 25. The naming convention changed like 8 times.
25.s1. No. 2025.s1.3.
Sure.
Right.
I don't think that's right, actually.
Right, Chronicler?
I don't think that's right. I think it's S25, whatever.
We're not very good with change over here at the LCK.
Yeah, anyway.
We like things the way they were, you know?
The Grubs did get nerfed a little bit. That's the point I'm trying to make, you know? So maybe Grubbian has re-examined his priority.
Yeah, I mean, it feels very good to get 6. And especially if you lose the first 3, there's a lot of pressure to just kind of go all in for the Grubs. As Jody's got an angle here, just kind of sets it up. Seemed very obvious. They block the ult. Fisher does flash away, and the flash forward with the haymaker. Nearly takes his head off, but Fisher will get away.
Oh,
and
no,
Chovy,
no.
No, it's wrong.
Missing. It's off.
Wrong.
It's off, yeah.
Nope. Nope, not even close. We saw that 5-6 seconds ahead of time.
Oh, Lahens didn't block it, though. It didn't matter at all, but he didn't.
He didn't do it, yeah.
Yeah, well...
Paying attention.
Ultimately, that play's actually really good for Fisher. Because you trade evenly in terms of flashes, you both use your ult. That is very realistically a scenario where he could have just died. So the fact he comes out of it, having traded evenly in terms of summoners, you're pretty happy. That being said, does set him up to be in a vulnerable position for like a re-gank. And you kind of seen the value of that setup from the laners for Gen.G. Canyon like pre-firing the spear before the ult even landed because he knew exactly where to go, was pretty heads up. But even with that, even with them really playing it well, just didn't quite have the damage.
Yep. That's Oner for you. Just gonna get out of there alive a lot of the time. And, you know, set early on. Chovy just going for the plated steel cap, so it's not like he has a lot of damage. So Fisher gets away. They both don't have flash, no ults, and we're just farming. Chovy is ahead on the farm.
Yeah, I think as well, the other thing, not just the plated steel cap's not giving much damage, but a big thing with set is you take damage, and then your haymaker deals a lot more, and Fisher wasn't really doing much damage in return.
Yeah. Whereas in trades like this, Chovy probably going to enjoy that. Building up his grasp stacks as well.
Yep. I will say, though, I feel like if the game keeps heading this direction, NONGSHIM pretty okay with it. You know, it's a 1,000 goal lead, not fantastic. You can see 80 carries really where you're feeling it the most, but uh-oh.
Yeah, Fisher 3 seconds off his ult. He just walks away. He's got Vi there. Gideon was hovering near the lane. Even Lahens was kind of close.
Yeah, making sure he has the support there. There's a decent amount of vision for Gen.G just below that, so clearing out that would be big. Jiwoo has the lethal tempo stack, is going for a heavier trade, but Keen simply just walks away.
Yeah, best strat in the LCK,
yeah.
as we have learned over many years, but even recently, just walk away. The best thing you can do. Not a huge amount of action, but as you did highlight, we do have a lot of lane leads, and you know, Ruler. Jiu loves his Ashe. He's playing the Ashe in this game. Ruler, though, is fantastic on the Ezreal, as we know. And, you know, you give him enough space, he's got that 180 carry that can deal with a composition like this that is well-crafted in a Game 1 of Fearless very well on a champion like Ezreal. So I do worry for NONGSHIM if they can't stop Ruler and just allow him to free farm and get all the grubs and get everything, essentially, that Ruler might just run away with the game.
Already farming pretty heavily. You can see Chovy as well, both of them having similar farms, about 10 CS per minute. And I think mid-game, when you get like the 2-item spikes in Ezreal, that's when it's really going to feel rough for NONGSHIM. So the plan is either... Oh, they're looking for Duro.
Yeah, Duro, he's very tanky on the Leona, but against all of that pressure, especially with this composition, they'll just crack down on you very fast. So
yeah,
kind of out of position there.
Once one bit of CC hits, they all hit, right? And that arrow coming in needed to be flashed. It was a little bit of a distant arrow as well, so the duration will be quite long. You know, after that, you're getting hit by like a Braum Q, a Vi Q.
You're probably just dying. But at the end of the day, they did use their Ashe arrow, so Genji take the opportunity to just take a grub down. As now Duro in the front line, they do have a lot of heal, but Canyon getting dove right now by Gideon, who's going all in, has to flash the Solar Flare though, and cannot end Canyon's life here on the Nidalee. The spears are also flying, as Chovy remaining here as a stalwart tank in the front, gonna pull in the Oner and pull him even deeper into the team, trying to burst down the Oner. They do get the kill. That's first blood, and Duro tanks up the damage, will live. King in the front line, but doesn't have any support from his team as Ruler, he's on the chase, the flash forward. This one is a good one on the Ezreal, as he does try to chase them down, looking for 7 seconds on his ult. The block of the Q is huge for Lehens.
His ult's gonna
1
be
second,
up now.
there it is, but they spot it, and they see it coming, too obvious.
Yeah, they did manage to get one grub, so denying the full 6 from Genji, but really licking their wounds as they back away from this one. Every single flash burn, I believe, there by the side of NONGSHIM. So the initial play looks okay from Gideon, but the problem is this TP is quite late from Fish and he gets immediately taunted. So Canyon survives. He can play on the outskirts of the fight, heal up, throw some spears. Not really a concern that he's low. And then this ensuing fight, Fisher still has ult. And you actually look, gets CC change, tries to use it here, but doesn't get it off in time.
Yeah.
And I think really if Canyon had gone down, if Fisher was able to get in the fight a bit sooner, I actually think NONGSHIM's initiation was good, but they just didn't have the follow-through. And against a composition with like Ezreal, with Nidalee, if you don't take them out quickly, you're just gonna get harassed.
He definitely will, as Duro in a bit of trouble, but a nice Solar Flare might be able to just kite it out a bit. Ruler also going to block that Q, so he does get out alive. But yeah, I mean, NONGSHIM's composition, if you've got everything layered, it's fantastic. But, you know, we saw like the Equalizer coming down, like the Vi ult onto 1, but not really immediate follow-up. Kingen kind of showing up a little bit late afterwards. Felt a little bit all over the place, whereas Genji were able to group up as a 5-man unit and just peel.
Yeah, and to be really clear, with a composition like NONGSHIM's, I don't think it's that hard of a composition to play, but you really have to be crisp with the execution.
Yeah.
If you're not layering, if people surviving on small slivers of HP, that will be fight losing.
Against Nidalee as well.
Yeah.
With all the healing and stuff, it's rough. By the way, we do have Mountain Soul. Genji, not only did they get the 5 grubs, they didn't get, they got the first blood, but they didn't get any other kills, but they got so much objective advantage here in this game by picking up the dragon, getting another bunch of grubs.
I think that's the big thing, is that because NONGSHIM was so low after the fight, it take so long to reset because like they had to avoid the ruler ult and stuff. Genji got on the map way quicker, able to pick up that dragon. Right now, we do have Jiwoo with the Yuntal Wild Arrows. Fisher doesn't quite have the Blade of the Ring King yet. Those 1-item spikes are nice, but really, Jiwoo needs to stack it up. Fisher needs Blade of the Ring King. You probably need some more items as well, just so you can be a bit bulky as the Yone, and Ashe is going to take more time. So the goal lead isn't huge right now, but I feel like really Gen G on quite a big advantage with just the state of the game for their composition right now.
Now he got a little setup here, actually, as Duro once again being bullied. He does not have flash. Might just be a free kill here, as, you know, when you're playing Leona, you feel like you can kind of be anywhere, but it was actually Canyon that went very deep to go in onto Lehens and maybe overextended and kept Duro around, so kind of a wonky little couch out there, but NONGSHIM will be able to benefit from that as Kingan's going in, but so is Keen as the flash comes out from the Harpoon. Keen showing a lot of respect here.
Yeah, I think Keen baiting all his cooldowns and suddenly realizing Kingan's going to have a fresh rotation. Also, the fact Kingan overheated in the taunt, so he was whacking him with the empowered autos. Kingan finding a good advantage. And, you know, NONGSHIM showing some life. I think here, Gen G just trying to get some damage down on Lehens, but he's a Braum, he's not really in a threat. But I love the turnaround play. Like, the understanding is that Ezreal and Nidalee quite hard to pin down, even without summoners, but Leona without flash into this composition is just a sitting duck. And they give Jiwoo the kill as well, which is pretty big. I think if I was this Leona, I would definitely be looking to get some Merc Treads pretty quickly, although I'm not going to lie, it would not have saved you there.
You know, positioning will be very important because you're very tanky, but as you mentioned, like, if you're just left alone and your team isn't there, you can only tank for so long. You're still going to die eventually. If everybody on NONGSHIM is there, they will take you down, so it's really just about smart positioning.
I think if Duro gets like Celestial Opposition, Merc Treads, maybe like a Locket, I think that's when you can really stall for a long enough time for your team to get like an advantage out of it. We've seen that a lot in like the LCK Cup where teams are like, hey, we can pick the support, it's been working quite well, and suddenly they're just a bit too tanky and they overcommit a bit too much and throw the entire game. So maybe we see something like that later on this one. But right now, Gen G starting up the Herald, and NONGSHIM looking to move in return. Kingan's TP just came up now, and Fish is on the flank.
I mean, TP's coming in, but it's in the mid lane. The Rift Herald's already down, pretty much. So one eye hit, one smite away. That's going to do it. The engage comes in from Duro, but not a big follow-up from Gen G. They got to worry about the combo. Able to get away from the arrow, but Fisher here on the flank is always threatening. They've got that buy as well, and look at that. Keen is going to be burnt down, and here's the follow-up. He lines up two. Fisher able to get on top of the set. Toby, nowhere for him to go, and Ruler and Kennen are just left to run away. Yes, they get the Rift Herald, but they lose 3 kills to NONGSHIM.
Yeah, and now 30 seconds until Dragon, so both teams like looking to reset and play towards that. I will say NONGSHIM burnt a lot of ultimates there, and I feel like their composition is a bit more ult reliant as well. So definitely an advantage for NONGSHIM. We'll see how it pans after that. Jiwoo in trouble.
Yeah, this is pretty rough. He's already getting punished here by Ruler. They're both super low. Lehens has to come back just to save him. But that's extra pressure and extra tower damage here for Ruler.
Yeah, and now as well, we're talking about resetting for the Dragon. They will be pretty late on that, although I just saw a TP top, so maybe Gen G not opting into it. And I think Duro just, you know, you got the Herald, could have just disengaged, but he looks for this angle onto Gideon. And immediately the ult comes out from Keen, but Gideon manages to flash away. And then I love how this is played by NONGSHIM. Passive on Galio. Wait out the taunt. Taunt is gone. Now it's time to go. And as well, one of the things with playing set into Yone is even if the shield keeps you alive, he's just stacking up the unbound soul damage. So you're going to die after. Really nicely played, I think, by NONGSHIM, playing around the Galio very well. And we did see Gen G made a TP play towards the top. They prioritized the turret. Gold is back to even. But it does mean they lose that Dragon on the bot side. So feats of strength secured, goal lead equalized, but an extra Dragon to NONGSHIM, I'm sure they are happy to take.
Yeah, it's definitely anybody's game from here. I mentioned before, you know, you just got to keep down Ruler. Essentially, he's still farming very well, but take a look at Jiwoo. He has 3 kills. He's going to be looking at a second item very soon in this game.
Yeah.
And actually might be a huge threat, so.
And the thing is, once you get to a certain point in the Ash, it is quite late in the game, but you're able to build those more like defensive items, things like a Bloodthirster, that just make you a bit bulkier. Gen G's composition might really struggle to deal with him. You know, if he's got a Braum sitting on top of him, he's got Cleanse, you know, you can block a lot of the damage coming out from like Canyon and Ruler. He will just shred. So we kind of talked about the 2-item spike for Gen G being big for the Ezreal. They are approaching that. But with the game being kind of as even as it is, it's definitely not a clear one for them.
Yeah. And as spectators and casters, we definitely wanted NONGSHIM to come out swinging to make this interesting, because if they kind of fell flat and just let Gen G just walk all over them and lose a game very quickly. Wasn't going to be a very fun series, but NONGSHIM coming out fighting right from the get-go and looking crisp, DK yesterday came out very slow, but then eventually made it interesting, did lose the series, but I like that NONGSHIM are just, they're awake right from game one. They're fighting, not scared of Gen G. They know when they can go. They're listening to their young.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is, it definitely helps having a voice like Lehens, who's obviously a veteran, very confident. But when you're playing into a team like Gen G, you can really get trapped in just the names and just think, we're against Chovy, we're against Canyon, we're against Keen Ruler. And it can really be, for less experienced teams, kind of throw you off your game, and you're like, oh, we shouldn't go for a fight here. They might outplay us because they're just that good. And I think having someone like Lehens like, no, this is the right fight, really goes a long way. Jiwoo taking a good amount of poke there, not ideal. And again, this is kind of the problem with having this Ezreal on the other side, is he will just harass you down from mid lane.
Yeah. That's why the Braum feels so good. We've seen so many times already that Helen's getting huge amount of values with the Unbreakable as Kingen. He's just kind of dead. Let's see if NONGSHIM can come over here. Just pulled away from the equalizer. NONGSHIM desperately trying to come up. Here's the TP. Kingen trying to turn this one around, but he's already dead. And the TP has been used. And now it's Fisher who is behind enemy lines, trying to ult away. It just gets blocked by a tank Galio.
He's away though.
He is fine.
Scary.
But that was not clean.
Yeah, scary. They do buy a bit of time, so Kingen, he's not that far away with the TP. I think ultimately, Gen G aren't able to do Arakan, which I think is the goal for NONGSHIM on the back of that, given how badly it started. But it was scary, a little bit hectic, a little bit messy. There was a point I was thinking, oh my god, are they just all going to funnel into Gen G and die? No, they didn't do that. And we saw earlier in the game, the second dragon for NONGSHIM, the Mountain Dragon, was sacrificed, and Gen G made that play top lane for the tower. This is a big reason why this ended up happening, because that tower is down. Kingen doesn't have that safe position to retreat to, and he ends up burning all his cooldowns to buy time. They burn the TP to try and save him, but he ultimately does go down. Right decision made to disengage from this, but definitely a little bit closer than you'd like to be for NONGSHIM. For Fisher in particular, I was very scared for him.
Yeah, he burns his flash, he burns his ult. Still not off cooldown here, so I mean, at this point in the game, it's still very early to just rush down an Otacon, but these Mountain Drakes, you're definitely going to want to fight for those. So now you've got Kingen without flash, you've got Fisher without flash.
Yeah, it is Chovy without flash as well, so it's a bit of trade. It's not the worst news. You're down one flash net against the other side, and obviously set flat is also pretty valuable. But absolutely, big cooldowns not to have when that dragon's coming up in a minute. And I think particularly on Yone and Rumble, who really they want to be positioning aggressively to look for big ults in the fight. If you can find an angle to punish, if Duro can get on top of one of them, would be pretty big.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty big. You see a lot of focus on clearing the mid wave, a lot of vision control up here in the top river, actually. As Poke looking to try to land here from the side of Gen G. It's essentially Duro just playing frontline and allowing Ruler and Canyon to just poke him down. I mean, look at Jiwoo. The arrow's going to hit, but yeah, you get his cleanse. Follow-up here from the side of Gen G, thinking about a fight. Duro going in. The follow-up is very slow. The True Shot Barrage is huge damage, but Duro should be traded back. No, the heal comes through, and he will survive for a little bit longer as TP's now being called in from both sides. Jiwoo just too low to really do anything, though. Has to back away, has no mana. And everybody's a bit injured, but now Gen G may be just able to run over and take a free Drake.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the situation. Remember, it's in Italy, so Sustain's going to come through from Canyon to keep them healthy on the back of this one. Scrappy fight that comes through. Gen G coming out with a little bit of the edge and forcing that TP from Kingen pretty big. I don't agree with this.
So no, I mean, unless Keen just doesn't check it. And it's going to take a really long time.
He's going to push that wave, though. He will be seen.
Yeah, he's going to see it. Maybe you can chain something here onto Keen, but Keen's going in, actually, trying to keep him in the Otacon circle. That's not going to work. They get a kill onto him.
Guys, you can't do this. It does so much damage. This is so risky. Just back up, back up, back up.
Yeah, now that they're coming up, you got to back off of this.
You got to back away. Jiwoo's in such trouble here.
Yeah, he does have his flash. Might have to burn it, but Genji not fully committing to the fight themselves as well, so.
Yeah, I think them being down a member, even with King and Fisher being low, they're like tentatively approaching it. They're happy to force them off. They're like, okay, Keen died, we stopped them doing Arakan. It's kind of the reverse of the play that happened earlier where King died. They're like, okay, we stopped the Arakan, that's enough. But here, Ruler does so much damage. The arrow is great, honestly, from Gio to burn the cleanse and the Galio ult. And then Lehens does a good job of stalling out. But this heal that comes in keeps Juro alive, that 466 health. I think if that hadn't kept him alive there, maybe NONGSHIM could have found a little bit more. You know, health bars start to get low. You're seeing the value of the Runans from the Ashe. And then here, I think Keen's plan was he's tanking Arakan. If I CC him on top of it, I trade 1 for 1. But it just didn't quite work out. I think the Rumble a bit tankier than he anticipated. But yeah, a lot of back and forth in this game, especially considering how the predictions were. This game's been a lot closer than we anticipated. Oh, TP's coming in.
Yeah, we're maybe going for a fight, but Kingin and the rest of NONGSHIM are like, okay, bring it. You want to fight? Let's go. As Keen, once again, not really able to do much. Toby is already low. Toby's going in as Keen is going out, but will return with the Galio. Oh, knocks up 2, and now Ruler's got an angle here on a Jiwoo, and that is a big deal. Jiwoo's going to go down already as Ruler is unchained. He's able to do anything he wants. And meanwhile, we got this fight in the top side, though. Fisher able to light it up the huge Oner, but it doesn't matter as Ruler just able to do enough damage to take him down. That was getting very dicey, but Ruler and Cannon able to survive and gonna start this one up. Gideon around.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're taking so much damage. Do not get hit by... Okay. yeah.
Just walk in a straight line behind it.
That's enough. That spear alone is enough to kind of ward you away. I think the sad thing about this passage of play is that I genuinely think NONGSHIM would have won that fight if Gideon had been there. I actually want to see in the replay why he was so far away. Yeah, he was taking the enemy blue buff.
What's
a bit of a disconnect, I feel, between the team. Because if you actually think of how the play panned out and how Ruler played it, Ruler played with the context of Vi is not here if you look at how he positioned. So Jiwoo gets a good amount of damage on a Keen, then has to disengage from Chovy here. And then look at Ruler. He's like, look, I am going to kill the Ashe. And he just dives on him, and then Gideon gets there, and if that ult had been 5 seconds earlier, you look at how the fight plays out, I genuinely think that NONGSHIM would have won that. But Genji making a 100% right call to play aggressive, play like it's a 5v4, because you know what? It was a 5v4.
And now they're just doing Baron. I mean, they have Arakan buff on everyone, so yeah, all 5 members, they call up Chovy, and they say, okay, bring it.
This is so risky, though, because if they reset, you know, NONGSHIM can just take the Baron, but they need to make things happen quickly.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to just take it down. NONGSHIM are not calling the bluff just yet. The arrow hits the Leona, as in goes the stealer. There it is, Gideon, the perfect timing. And Genji just hand over the buff to the side of NONGSHIM. Genji trying to get a bit more, but already one withdrawal as well. They'll get a kill onto Gideon, but that's it.
Hero play. Hero play.
Gideon.
Yeah, and he's happy with that trade. In fact, they actually managed to get the reset as well on one target, so a bit of gold in return.
Yeah.
You got the Baron. That's exactly what you want. NONGSHIM more than happy. And actually watch Gideon's pathing here. So instead of queuing straight over to Chovy, queues to the side, ults over the wall to get in for the smite. You also have Fisher in disrupting, but then with his unbound soul he gets out. And Gideon, he kills Ruler. Everyone's trying to kill Jiwoo, and he just sends Ruler back to the fountain. Canyon does finish him off, but you're more than happy with that trade.
아, 스마트함 지리잖아, 기왕. 애나 용 보자, 용 1분.
I don't know what he said, sorry guys, but he was very happy, you could tell, with his play. It was very worth, right? That is the definition of hashtag worth, where you go in, you die, you get a kill on top of the Baron.
Yeah, and especially with the Arakan buff, you know, even though they didn't get like a ton of, like they didn't get all the gold you can collect from killing the Genji members with the buff, the fact is Genji got that huge buff, and what do they get from it? They got a kill. And they lost a Baron in return. So I think NONGSHIM very happy with this. Also, you look at the XP. Fisher level 16, highest in the game now. Baron obviously given a lot of XP over. He's really starting to come online. We look at Jiwoo, who now has the Bloodthirster. 3 items on the Ashe, feeling a lot more significant compared to that 2-item spike when you're kind of not as strong as Ruler was.
Yeah.
They are setting up now for the Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, these teams have been brawling back and forth. It feels like we should have more kills, but there's been a lot of injured members running away in a lot of these fights.
Okay, NONGSHIM, chill. Gideon is pushing the wave mid. He is not there. Learn from the last situation.
He doesn't have Baron either, so obviously he has to be here for the fight, but yeah, he gets that huge wave into the mid turret anyway.
Oh, I love this setup though. NONGSHIM kind of threatening this pincer. Oh, going in.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get a taunt onto Gideon, but you've already overextended into the pit. The rest of Gen G not looking to follow up on this one as Keen is very low. It gets stolen down by Canyon, and now we got Chaos here in the pit. Fisher not in a great spot. He's being focused down, and so is Jiwoo. They do get the 1 kill, but now Ruler being bullied by the Rumble. Kenyon going in, and will take out Ruler. And now it's thinking about taking this fight against Canyon and Jovi, but I don't know about this one, as maybe has overextended. Big shield though, and he is tankier than you'd imagine, but not enough.
His spears just keep hitting, you know? And Gen G also get the dragon off the back of that, so they end up coming out ahead. I think ultimately the kind of pincer approach put Gen G in an uncomfortable position, but then they move on to the dragon, and Keen's immediately like, oh, well, if they're not threatening the flanks, we can push in. Jiwoo's getting a good amount of damage down, but then he ends up in the pit. He has no flash. He gets CC locked by Chovy, and the thing is, Fish is there too. They actually get a good amount of damage back in return, but it's almost impossible to win a fight where, you know, 2 of your main carries are just getting CC bounce housed by a Set and a Galio. And then here, Canyon just doesn't miss with the spears and that boosted execute damage. Kingen, he's doing a ton of damage in return, but he's just bursted by the Nidalee there.
Yeah, like you mentioned, if they had even just one of those other carries doing something in the fight and not just dying in the pit. I mean, they did a lot of damage. Jiu got the 1 kill, I think, on a Keen. But at the end of the day, you're not really getting enough value out of those 2 carries. And
I think having the summoners really important for Jiwoo in particular. You know, we've seen these teams scrapping so often. I think summoners just constantly being on cooldown. But Fisher also burnt his flash at the start of that fight to avoid the taunt. I guess he was kind of in the mindset of, if I eat this taunt, like, I will eat everything. And then ultimately went down at the end because he had no way of getting away. Crazy the amount of damage that both Kingen and Canyon did. We often think of Nidalee as like, get ahead, you know, heal bot maybe late game. That's how some LCK junglers have played it. But Canyon is just pumping the numbers.
Yeah, he's got a license. He's one of the guys that does, as now an engage here on a Gideon. He's just going to flash away from that one. Jiu, meanwhile, not scared to run up to 5 of them as Equalizer comes down onto a couple of very tanky members, but Chovy not as tanky. Bit of damage does go back. That will push NONGSHIM away from this one. So again, very much testing each other in this.
I love the casual roast from Rumble. Just Kingen just standing there, just melting them, but not getting too close. But a lot exchanged on both sides. But, you know, we were just talking about the summoners for NONGSHIM. And Jiwoo just lost his flash again. So I think Gen G are doing a great job where they're maintaining this pressure, because the summoners for them aren't as valuable. Like, you have an Ezreal and a Nidalee. Nidalee has Zhonya's. Ezreal has flash and like a 3-second cooldown if he's hitting all his abilities, it feels like.
Yeah.
So if you're trading sums in this manner, it's still going to be hard to kill Ruler. It's still going to be hard to kill Canyon. But Jiwoo, if he's not threatened, he pumps out so much damage. But he's constantly being threatened.
He doesn't have flash, so he's just going to get bullied here by a lot of members. Eats a giant spear to the face, just no vision on the right side. Jiu just dies for free, and now Lehens might have to pay the price as well. He goes in, tries to save his younger brother. He will be taken down, and we got Baron in 20 seconds. Yeah,
that Baron is just a miss, and I think with 2 members down, not realistic that Gideon's going to be able to make it in to steal it. You can see Gen G really taking control of this game.
Yeah.
And Jiwoo's a little bit lost, if I'm going to be honest.
We talked about positioning with Duro. Jiu, unfortunately, makes a bigger mistake here in a more important moment. That should be just a free Baron. This time, he's just going to take a blue buff constellation.
Also a more important role, if I'm going to be honest, as the AD carry. And the takeaway from this is Gen G already have a 4,000 gold lead. They're going to get Baron. It's Soul in a minute. They're really going to be in a great spot. The ult from Duro, perfect. And Lehens tries to save his AD carry, but there's not really much you can do other than sacrifice yourself as well. Just try to flash, because he's like, maybe if I get away, we can contest this, but just ends up wasting that in the end. And now we're back live. Gen G have Baron. 5,000 gold lead, 50 seconds until what would be Mountain Soul for them. And I feel like LDR is coming for Jiwoo, but already Keen and Chovy feel very bulky. Keen, Chovy, Duro is a bulky front line.
Yeah.
Add the Mountain.
realistically as well, like how much damage is due, how many seconds is due attacking for before he just dies as well?
Less than you'd hope.
I mean, he doesn't have flash now. Already took a loss, and they're setting up a nice gank rush here. I say nice, maybe the opposite of nice here, as Lehens is going to get locked down and might just die here for their sins as the follow-up comes in, and NONGSHIM are just kind of falling apart as the engage goes in. Fisher finally shows up, and Jiu is alive, but it is a 5v3 as they're just able to peel here for Fisher and take him down. So 3 essentially free kills for Gen G, and they're going to get the Mountain Soul.
Yep, not much you can do there. I think they were kind of looking for like that little bit of pressure onto Duro, maybe try and force something. But it's kind of that thing we talked about earlier where like, okay, now the Leona has Celestial Opposition, Merc Treads lock it, and they kind of realize that, okay, we can't burst this Leona. Let's do a little bit of poke, let's back away. But the end result is you're just locked into a situation you can't escape from, and now Gen G looking to end the game.
I mean, they still have Baron for a minute 30. So 2 members down here on the side of NONGSHIM. You don't really have any defense at all. And you're going up against Mountain Soul Gen G. Instead of, you know, going all in on the Nexus turret, they look to take the bottom turret. I thought they would, but instead,
oh wow,
a lot of respect.
Jiwoo sold Last Whisper and bought Seeker's Arm Guard.
Yeah, I don't think that's the answer, Dan Ox Harrison.
Yeah, it's like, I think the thought process was they're going to end the game. I need this or the game is over. But now you're locked into this item with no damage, and you don't have armor pen against the Mountain Soul team. So it doesn't feel great. And you see here, they're trying to wait for Lehens to like give him a jump out. But it just ends up getting them caught in the mixer as well. And Ruler's ult hits Jiwoo again, and he ends up so low. Like, he's healing up with the Bloodthirster, but he just can't really participate in the fight when he's that low on HP. And things are starting to look pretty dire right now.
Yeah, I don't know. This was like a close game. It was a fun one. It was very back and forth. We had a lot of action. And then all of a sudden, Gen G just set up traps, and NONGSHIM fell for them over and over and over again. Yeah,
I think what feels worse on top of this is the fact that you look at the picks NONGSHIM has. Kingan's Rumble, Fish's Yone. Those are big budget picks in a Fearless. They're going to be gone for the rest of the series, so doesn't feel good. And this is their side selection game on blue side. So not a good feeling to be on the losing end of this one. There's still some hope, but it is definitely dwindling for now. Gen G just applying the pressure. No Baron available yet, but still just able to walk up, and with the Bloodthirster from Ruler, with the Mountain Shield, tanking the tower a little bit to get some damage down.
Ruler just gets to do whatever he wants. He's got an engaged support, and he's got a healing support. Enchanter from the jungle, and they've got a massive front line now. I mean, so much engage as well, and nobody is dying here. I say that immediately Duro dies. They do have to follow up here on the engage, finally, from the side of Ruler, as Gio kind of left in no man's land. He does have the Zhonya's, so he'll survive for a bit longer. Ruler getting a bit low, but not quite low enough. Maybe just enough to get her hopes up, but not able to finish off Jiwoo. The turret should go down as Toby's got a Haymaker, will stay alive as the Braum falls, the Ashe falls, and the Rumble falls, and so will the Nexus. Gen G picks them apart in the last 10 minutes.